What is happening, people? Welcome back to the show. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day. Tonight it's Thursday Tier Talk. I'm flying solo tonight on my own. Dazzler is away in Portugal, having a good time with the family, nice and relaxing. He's been sending me some pictures, fabulous place he's at the moment. So I'm here on my own tonight. We're going to be doing a Premier League preview for the weekend's action. We'll kind of take a little bit of look back to last weekend as well and all that kind of thing. We'll keep you bang up to date on the Irish teams in Europe at this evening. Not looking good. We'll get into the detail of that, of course, as well. We'll also take a look at the PFA Team of the Year, and we'll get your thoughts on that also. Really, really important. Certainly some questions thrown up when this came out. So we'll get your thoughts on that as well. But as always, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video, we would really, really appreciate that. Always very important to tweak that little YouTube algorithm, as they say, and stuff like that. So yeah, don't forget, we've put up a couple of shows there. Tomorrow night I'll be on your screens at 8. Dino is supposed to be joining me for that. We're going to be doing a Brentford preview, and we're also going to be getting Dino's thoughts on what's been a trying and testing transfer window for Liverpool fans. So we'll discuss all that. Next week, there isn't going to be any crazy live shows or anything like that. I will drop some videos onto the channel while I'm away. Any reaction to any signings or anything like that, we will react to them. We'll also do a preview for next weekend's action and stuff like that. The big one coming up, of course, Man United versus Liverpool. So we could not drop a preview for that. I'll drop a little video on that as well. And then Wednesday the 11th, mark that in your diary or hit the bell notification button. We have Aaron McNally on, who plays for Drogheda United. We're going to be getting an update from Aaron on Drogheda United. But also he runs a company called Custom Shins. And what they do is they make custom shin guards. So we'll be talking to him about how he got into all that and what the process is and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to keep this interview series flowing now. Mark's working very hard in the background to land people for interviews and stuff like that. So he's always pushing the whole interview thing and stuff. So really looking forward to that one. September the 11th, it's a Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Aaron has assured us he will be finished training at that stage and he'll be good to go on the show. If there is a slight adjustment, we'll let you know. But again, make sure you hit that bell notification button because that will let you know any updates, any changes, any shows and all that kind of stuff. And probably pre-alert you as well when we put up videos and all that kind of good stuff. Right, let's get an update from Europe tonight. Pack the Greece team against Shamrock Rovers. Rovers having an absolute mare over there. It's 3-0 at the moment. Rovers have had a player sent off. Joshua Honahan has been sent off to add to their woes. Pack took the lead with Cleary with an OG on 45 plus 5 just before half time. Came out on 47 and Tyson has made it 2-0 to Pack and then just scored now in the 67th minute. Constantelis, I think it is, has made it 3-0. Rovers down to 10 men. This could end up 4 or 5. Rovers would have wanted to keep this as tight as they could to bring it back, of course, to Tallaght Stadium, but no such luck, and it looks like Rovers are going to be bound out and not have much of a chance coming back next week. So there you go. Get into that proper round draw. 19 minutes gone, 73 minutes gone on that Rovers game, by the way, folks. 19 minutes gone for St. Patrick Athletic against Istanbul Başakşehir. That's a name that sounds familiar. Is that a team that Liverpool played in recent times or something like that? Europa League or something like that? Or were they in the dizzy heights of the Champions League at one stage or something like that? I'm not too sure. But there's 19 minutes gone there. St. Pat's 0-0. That's the way you want to keep it, nice and tight. Don't be coughing it up with a leg to go and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there you go. That's your update on that. Right, so let's get into first our Premier League preview. We will have Beat the Bookie for you a bit later as well. I've put together 3 tidy little bets there that I will go through later as well. So if you are having a bet at the weekend, don't forget to drop it in the chat and let us know your predictions as well for the matches this weekend in the Premier League. Some really, really good fixtures. Really looking forward to some of them. And let's see, of course, we'll probably have a little chat later as well about Chelsea. You can see it there in the background. Ian was supposed to come on, but he got got caught up in work. So we'll have a general chat ourselves about Chelsea as well at some stage in the show as well. But we kick it off, the lunchtime match, Brighton versus Manchester United. Brighton last week with a very, very good win against Everton. Absolutely battered Everton at Goodison 3-0. Looking really, really, really good. And it was mad. I seen a stat the other day. And if you check out the interview we did last night with Danny Pugh, I mentioned on the Danny Pugh one as well, that James Milner, when he started out in the Premier League, the current manager for Brighton, I think it is, was 5 years of age or 6 years of age or something like that. Crazy stat, but there you go. So Brighton looking to continue that good form at home at the Amex. Will be looking to put up a good performance against Manchester United, and will be seeking the 3 points as well, I would imagine. United coming out of their game against Fulham. Xerxes with a late winner, of course. Spoke about it with Mark on the Monday show. United not really hitting their pump on it. Created a couple of chances. Bruno had a couple of chances. Garnacho, of course, missed a sitter. But Fulham as well, so blunt on the counter-attack as well. So many chances where he had 4-on-2 or 3-on-1. And Maguire sticking out that leg to cut out that pass. Not completing that pass is really unforgivable at that level. And Fulham surely will have left Old Trafford absolutely disgusted not to have left with a point. But we shall see. This is Man United. They've had another week under them now. Xerxes there. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see with the starting lineups as well. I think I'm probably going to go for a draw in this one. But again, if you're in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. Brighton versus Manchester United. Let's move on to the 3 o'clocks. Crystal Palace versus West Ham. Crystal Palace will be disappointed in their first game, losing 2-1 to Brentford. Ivan Toney not in the team and not in the squad that day. Surely would have given Palace a little bit of impetus there, but we know Palace with a number of players exiting the building and also some players as well, with their eyes maybe to other pastures. Might be a little bit distracted at the moment. But let's see. But this surely will be a good one. Palace back at Selhurst Park. West Ham, the visitors. London derby. So always ratchet it up a little bit there. I think I'm kind of leaning towards drawing this, but I think West Ham might be able to nick this. They did look really... Once they got going last week, I thought they looked pretty good. They were creating chances against Villa. It took them time to get going and get into the game and stuff like that. And Villa had kind of bolted off at that stage, you know. But I think West Ham this week, after another week under them and stuff like that and all, I think you could see with Lopetegui maybe taking the points at Selhurst Park. Tight though, probably 2-1. Fulham versus Leicester. Fulham will want to get off the mark here. Absolutely disappointed coming away with nothing from Old Trafford last week. Were very, very blunt up front. But didn't really. I suppose on the counter attack they were disjointed. You know, they couldn't pin the passes together, actually do the damage and stuff like that, and that's what really cost them in the end. And then just that dagger from Xerxes, I think it was on 87 minutes, really paved way to them getting anything out of the game. Marco Silva would have been very disappointed. He would have been expecting at least a point probably off that game, but didn't get it. So he'll be looking to put 3 points on the board this week. Up against a Leicester side, it'll be interesting to see. Leicester very good the other night on Monday night against Tottenham, 1-1. Tottenham could have been 3, 4, 5 up in the first half, but they weren't. Second half, Leicester came out, had a bit about him, and that man Jamie Vardy, chat shit, get bang, there you go. 1-1. They may try and look to build on that. It's going to be interesting to see Leicester on the road this year under Stevie Cooper as well. How do they go about their business when they go and meet Fulham at 3 o'clock on Saturday? Are they going to keep the same energy, or will Cooper be a bit more defensive in his way? Let's see what happens there. I think Fulham will run out here. Again, a tight winner, 2-1. I think both teams will score. But that's what I'm kind of thinking at the moment. I hope that matches up with my bets, actually. So I haven't referenced my bets here at all. Next up, Man City versus Ipswich. Tough start for Ipswich in the Premier League, isn't it? Liverpool last week, and now Man City this week. But again, as they say, there's 38 games. Everyone plays everyone twice, so you have to play them. I can't see anything here other than a Man City win. I think that result last week against Chelsea showed that they still have a bit of work to do. Chelsea also looked good in the game, but just couldn't finish their opportunities. They were unlucky and, again, some contentious decisions. I was hoping to speak to Ian about them tonight, get his thoughts on them, stuff like that. But I think Man City with another week under them now, and, the talk of Ilkay Gundogan going back in there as well, sure to lift things as well. But we shall see. We shall see. Home game for Man City against Ipswich. I think they'll put a score on the board here. I think they'll have way too much for Ipswich. I think Ipswich maybe first 15 minutes might be a bit resolute, but kind of like what you're saying with Liverpool last week, so resolute for the first 45 minutes, and then they come out and they're just poleaxed then trying to maintain that level of energy and concentration. So tough start for Ipswich. Don't see them getting much out of this. Southampton versus Nottingham Forest, a much more open game. Southampton disappointing after travelling up to St James's last weekend against Newcastle, losing 1-0. Darren did call it that it would be a tight game. I didn't expect it to be that tight. I thought Newcastle would have been more comfortable, but obviously the sending off of Fabian Schär wouldn't have helped things at all. But Newcastle running out 1-0 winners, getting the job done. So Southampton back at St Mary's. Nottingham Forest are the visitors as well. Nottingham Forest drawn 1-1 against Bournemouth. Again, would have been disappointed themselves, coughing up that goal late-ish. So Nottingham Forest and Southampton, probably a score draw on this. Probably won't be one of the games that you'll be pushing to tune in at the weekend. Up next, Tottenham versus Everton. They're entertaining Everton at the new White Hart Lane, if you want to call that fabulous stadium. Everton absolutely poleaxed last week, beaten at Goodison by Brighton 3-0. And I think I think on Saturday, I'm expecting more of the same. I would expect Tottenham to go out and do an absolute number. They will be extremely disappointed in not finishing their dinner at the King Power Stadium and getting the 3 points. They'll need to put a win on the board here. Everton, to me, look in serious trouble at the moment. And I can see nothing here, only a Tottenham win and by a margin as well. Up next, one of the games of the weekend, the 5:30 this Saturday, Aston Villa versus Arsenal. This is a kind of a top four one, isn't it? Kind of top four feel about this. Emery there entertaining Arteta. Arsenal travelling to Aston Villa. Going to be a tough game. I think I'm going to call this one a draw. That's what I say. I think Arsenal last week against Wolves, where they were creating a little bit, I think they made very hard work of it for themselves. And only when Saka scored that cracker, they kind of relaxed a little bit and stuff, But I think Arsenal making hard work of what was, to me, what should have been easy work against a Wolves team, really, at the Emirates. But another week again, under the belt, training, all that kind of good stuff and all. And they'd be buoyed by the news. I think they got the here we go today for that Moreno lad off Real Sociedad. So that will have lifted the spirits in the Arsenal fan base and stuff, getting that deal over the line for that player. Very, very good player. So I think I'm going to go with a score draw here. Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Next up, Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Newcastle travelling down to Bournemouth. Bournemouth getting a point at Nottingham Forest last weekend. Newcastle winning 1-0 as well against Southampton. These are two teams I'd imagine would have improved after getting this week under their belt on last week's performances. So this is going to be an interesting one. But Bournemouth, without Solanke, it's going to be tough to see where the goals are going to come from. I know they have some decent players in there, but they could really, really struggle. Newcastle, I think they'll have found a little bit there, but talk coming out today, I think in the news that Kieran Trippier might be looking for a move away and stuff like that. So not the kind of information you want to be hearing 2 days before a game. But we'll see. Again, I'm probably going to go for a Newcastle win here. I think it's going to be a tough season for Bournemouth. I think they'll be down and in around trouble for long periods of this, and I think just towards the latter end of the season, I think that's when they'll put marginally a little bit of space. They might be okay. I know it was in some of the guys' picks the week before last when we did the Premier League predictions, or last week I should say. But I'm going to go for a Newcastle win here, and again by a couple of goals, maybe 3-1 or something like that. Wolves versus Chelsea. Wolves at home entertaining Chelsea. Wolves will want to try and get something out of this. They'll try and unhinge Chelsea somewhat, make the game a little bit disjointed. and try and get something out of this. But some of the players that they've lost are key. And I think Wolves is another team as well that are going to be in for kind of a tough season this season, but I think they'll probably have enough to be okay. But again, I think it's going to be a long, tough season for them. For Chelsea, the endearing thing at the moment with Chelsea is like what 11 is going to start. Joe Felix after going in there, all the talk of Raheem Sterling and Trevor Chalobah and Ben Chilwell and all being put to one side and being told leave. Sterling's jersey being given away. You know, it's the feeling there at the moment is not great unless you're the starting squad. But a lot of these guys are being told and instructed to go find new homes and all that kind of stuff. And it's tough treatment on them at the moment as well. You know what I mean? Because where you can look at Sterling and go, yeah, he's on an absolute fortune and he hasn't lived up to the hype. He hasn't delivered really on that Chelsea contract, let's be honest. That's kind of a way of doing business, isn't it? And Maresca, you know, he sounds like him. And we've looked for this at times in Klopp as well when he was Liverpool manager. We wanted a little bit of ruthlessness, but like there's probably a right way to do things and stuff like that. And Chelsea, of course, have a lot of pressure there on them at the moment. They need to move a lot of play. They need to move a bunch of players on between sales and loan moves and stuff like that. And some of these players are on decent contracts as well. If you look at Raheem Sterling, he doesn't really have to go anywhere. Let's be honest. He can just sit there on 300 and whatever it is a week and doesn't have to worry about things like that, you know. But yeah, so that's it. So just in the chat there, we'll just pop into the chat before we get to the Super Sunday. Keith is in. I think Everton might get down this year. There's only so many times you can get the rub of the grain. Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for Everton this year. I think they're just going to, you know, there's so much talk as well of players leaving. Don't be surprised if Bramwhite does leave. We've been making inquiries about him and stuff like that and all, and it's really, really difficult there at the moment. They're still trying to get this deal over the line for this new owner as well. That could change things up a lot, but I don't think that's going to be in place in time to do anything in this window. Now, can they recover their season potentially in the January window if they do have this new owner in? Can they keep in touch and stuff like that? At the moment, looking at how they're playing, I mean, Brighton just absolutely took them apart last week. So I think it will be a struggle for Everton. No doubt about it. And I tell you, if they get a points deduction, gonna be real tough, isn't it? Shout out, big up, Keith. Thanks for being in. Acers is in. Brighton will beat United. You think so? I called it a draw. I don't know if you've seen it earlier, Acers, on the show. If you were in, listen. I called it a draw. I think it's gonna be a draw. Again, interesting to see what Ten Hag goes with here. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of a little bit fluid. And last week, what he picked was a little bit disjointed and didn't kind of blend and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see what he picks this week and stuff like that. Again, you know, that conundrum of Rashford there at the moment and what's going to happen there. He just does not look really, really interested at all. So yeah, just something to be aware of, you know. So, but yeah, easily. I mean, look, we probably wouldn't be shocked if Brighton got a win. But I'm thinking probably a draw. John, what's happening, my man? How are you? Thanks for joining us. How do you know Liverpool will buy anybody before the end of the window? Well, I don't. I don't know Liverpool are going to buy anyone before the end of the window. But if you think about the list that's being put out there, I think it was tweeted by Jack Lusby. If you look at that list of players there that they're looking to go out potentially in sales and on loans and all that, and I think it's the deal for Seth van den Berg now. That's sealed with Brentford as far as I know, so he's going in there. Might be even registering time to play in the game on Sunday, which would be very, very interesting, wouldn't it? But yeah, I don't know that they're going to go in for someone. What I know is I think we've got 9 days left. 9 days roughly left to go. Now listen, we know that Edwards and we know that Hughes, they can make things happen pretty quick. If the right player is there and if they're targeting the right player. I did read a report today that one of their main priorities at the moment is getting Trent's contract sorted and stuff like that. So if they can get that done, that'll be good news for us, of course. But again, if these players are going, if you're getting a Morton going out, if you're getting a Bayetic going out and all that kind of stuff, there's gaps there then starting to appear that if we do pick up injuries, we could be in serious trouble if we don't go out into the market. I still think we might get one or two players over the line. I really do, because I don't think we can put out that amount of players. Bobby Clark going and everything, all these different players going. Matip gone, Thiago gone. I don't think we can rely that much on what's off the pitch based on the starting 11 and all that. I don't think that's enough that will push us to any sort of a title race or anything like that. I think we will really struggle. But I don't know what the plan is. But certainly, I think the anxiety is ratcheted up fierce. I think they're doing some really good work in the players that they're moving on, and I think they're getting some really, really good money. I think with some really, really good sell-on clauses as well. But that doesn't really affect us as fans. For us as fans, it's the team and the squad that's there and who's going to compete this year. Then are we going to give Arne everything that he needs to compete against the likes of Pep and Arteta and teams like that? And also, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I still do think that that they're definitely working on something there. They have to be. They're not sitting back, taking this money in, pushing this amount of players out the door. And I did say earlier, I was on Jack's chat earlier on Anfield Road TV, and I did make the point is when they talk about, I mean, Costas obviously is linked with a move back home as well and stuff like that. I did make the point. We bang on so many podcasts, and we'll discuss this in depth tomorrow night with Dino on the Liverpool show, But we bang on so hard about these players that we don't think are up to it, or we don't think are going to meet the mark. And then when they decide to sell them, there's uproar about it. So we got to try and keep this energy and make up our minds. Selling players and buying players, the exclusivity of it is kind of weird and stuff like that. And I just think at the moment, I think there's a big 9 days coming up for us now. It's a big 9 days for Michael Edwards. It's a big 9 days for Richard Hughes and Arne Slot and stuff like that. We've got a big game to focus on Sunday. We've got Brentford at Anfield, who are a dangerous side, and we will look at them. We're hearing that Ivan Toney's back in training now, so the likelihood is if there's nothing moving there, he might play on Sunday. And we know how dangerous Ivan Toney is and stuff like that as well. So we've got to be focused as well on these early games in the season. Get the Brentford game done, then start the preparation moving towards the United game and all that. Get to the international break, hopefully with 9 points. Let's see what the squad is at that stage. Let's see if they do bring guys in. But I don't want them trying to feed this hellacious appetite of this want for players, but just going and signing people. I want us to get the right people in, and we'll discuss it tomorrow night. We'll go in depth on it tomorrow night. High thoughts on Salah leaving on a free transfer at the end of the season. It's shocking. I've said it on a load of podcasts. I can't believe that front three that we had, which were absolutely brilliant. I cannot believe that front three are going to walk through the door for 33 million. A front three that was probably valued at 200 plus million is now going to have walked through the door for 33 million is shocking. But I don't know what's going to happen. Just hang on there 1 second. Let's bring him in. Well, hello there. Look at this. Sitting at the pill, all that good stuff. How are we?
Not too bad. Just sitting on my balcony here. Saw you got the notification.
There we go.
And I looked in and I said, oh, me buddy's on his own. I'm going to stick on me Batman cape and I'm going to run in.
There you go. The Robin to my Batman, is it? There we go.
You know it, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just running down there through the fixtures there, so I've only actually got Liverpool and Brentford to go, to be honest. So I've gone through them most. Do you want to run down and give us your predictions?
Yeah, give us a spin there.
Yeah, hang on. I just want to answer John there. Actually, just his thoughts on Salah leaving on a free transfer at the end of the season. I think it's likely to happen, and I think if the offers are true and the offers that are coming in and stuff like that, like for instance, if he's going to Saudi, and I'll talk about Dino's on tomorrow night with me for the Brentford preview, and we will be talking about Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent and all. If they're offering him 100 million to sign on, and they're offering him 2 million, 3 million a week or whatever it is, he's an icon out there in football. He's a global superstar, and if they want him in that league, and if he's decided he wants to leave Merseyside and he wants to bring his family to a country where to experience similar culture and all that kind of stuff, I don't know what Liverpool are going to be able to do to change his mind. You know what I mean? It's generational wealth, and loads of people will turn around like they did last time when we got Salah stays, and they said, "Oh, but it's not about the money." but it was about the money because we found out afterwards it was very much about the money. What do you
Found
think
out
on this, Darren?
afterwards,
Yeah,
we found out afterwards that, Liverpool had to break their wage structure in order to keep him there.
and he was
Right.
holding
So,
out for just that extra 25 grand to make it the 355 or 375 or whatever it is, So,
yeah.
um,
Um,
do
I
you
don't
see
know.
a
I don't.
situation where they can change him?
I think at the minute it would be very tough. I think, maybe if he had seen a little bit more investment, and maybe if he had seen more ideas from Slot and from the lads in the background, Edwards and stuff like that, and Ward. I think at the minute it doesn't maybe strike me as being a very, very ambitious project. Now, I know ambition isn't always measured by how much money you spend, but I think at the minute, I think if I'm somebody at Liverpool and I'm a big name, I'm looking at how things are going, and I'm watching the likes of Carvalho and Vandenberg and Clark being sold off, who are possibly the next generation of Liverpool stars. And I'm watching them being sold off, and I'm not really seeing a whole lot coming back in through the gates. And I'm thinking, what is this? What's going on here? Like, it's left me a little bit puzzled, even from the outside. So I think that's gonna knock on then when you talk about somebody like Mo Salah, when you talk about somebody like Virgil van Dijk. Don't forget, Virgil van Dijk mentioned you know, he wanted to see the stepping stones behind the club's thought process and how they were going to get to winning trophies again. Now, listen, as good a manager as Arnie Slot might be, the squad has some quite glaringly obvious holes in it. And they haven't been addressed as yet. Now, maybe it's a thing that they're going to give Slot, the first 6 months with the squad that he has available, and then allow him to make decisions. Because maybe Slot's going to be the one that says, we're not giving Van Dijk a deal. We're not giving Salah a
Mm.
deal. We need younger, fresher, quicker, hungrier, more motivated players into those positions. So let's get those massive wages that they're on off the books, and let's bring in younger alternatives that have a little more gas in the tank and a little more mileage left in the legs and stuff like that. I don't know, but I think at the minute, if I'm Salah or Van Dijk, I don't think I can sign on looking at what's going on at the minute.
Yeah, I have a feeling at the moment. See, I spoke on another podcast today in the chat, and I was saying when we sell the likes of Bobby Clark or we sell Sepp van der Berg, we all talk on podcasts saying that we don't think these guys are good enough. So then when we don't think they're good enough, and then the club decides, okay, they're going to cash in on them. And listen, they're getting good money for these guys, way more than what we ever thought they were getting. And then we turn around and then there's uproar again. So first of all, we're saying we don't think they're up to the level. Then when the club goes to sell them, there's uproar. I think it's more uproar because of incomings and stuff like that. I wonder, are they
I
stockpiling the cash for next summer to make those big changes?
possibly, and if that's the strategy, and some of the lads know that that's the strategy, that's a different story. Because again, as you said, to replace a Mo Salah, to replace a Virgil van Dijk, to replace an Alisson in 2 seasons, maybe. We know obviously the move for Marmadashvili is close. It's quite imminent. But I mean, like, there's a lot of work in that squad. One thing I will say is the lads have done very, very well with the figures that have been mentioned for what's leaving the building. Fabio Carvalho is almost 27 million, and I think you guys paid 8 for him. Like, that's a huge rate of interest, let's call it. And the same with Vandenberg. I know he's held quite highly across the continent, in Germany especially, and stuff like that. But it's not something. It's not something that he's maybe been universally looked at across in England, and everybody thought, oh wow, this is one of the next big things. And then also with the boy Bobby Clark, if I look at Bobby Clark and I look at our own situation with somebody like Facundo Pellistri, so Bobby Clark has gone to Leipzig he's gone for about 10 million, right? Now,
Yeah.
for 10 million now, I know Pellistri, who's a Uruguayan international, has gone to Panathinaikos for 6 million. Now, there's a 45% sell-on clause. So if the kid does turn into the player that some people think he might do, you're getting almost half the next transfer fee, which is then going to bump you up to maybe over your 10, over your 15, whatever it is. If he does wonders at Panathinaikos and somebody comes in from for 30 million in 18 months' time, we're getting 21 million out of this deal. But if things don't go that well, again, it's another one that's left almost, as we say, on the cheap. And this is, again, you've mentioned it about Liverpool fans. This is where United fans will go, well, he's not good enough. But then when we sell him, it's like, oh, we didn't get enough money. And you're like, well, if he's not good enough for us, why are we worried about how much money we're getting in from? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're clearing wages, you're clearing you're clearing space in the squad. You're getting in a transfer fee with the possibility of an add-on further down the line and stuff like that. So, I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't at times, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think for us as well, it's a difficult situation because obviously you have the backdrop of Klopp leaving and Arna coming in, and there was great excitement with Michael Edwards coming back and Richard Hughes, and we thought like, okay, we can accept Klopp going and Arna coming in because we now have the band is back together in terms of the back room, and we know how successful it's been in the past, and obviously they've come into a difficult situation as well because Arna's wanted to look at the team, and he's looking at the team at the moment, and if you look at that team. Last year there was obvious reasons why it fell away towards the end and stuff like that. We both witnessed it firsthand at the Palace game and stuff like that. We were shocking, but there was a lot of stuff behind that. We heard Mo Salah talking about if I speak, there will be fire. All these different things and stuff, and I think we really need to be careful. I don't just want people signed. Those people have to fit into, as you've spoken before, the plan, the project, all this kind of stuff. I don't want us to go out, and no disrespect to Endo Wataro. Endo Wataro has done really well for us last season, stuff like that. But he was one of those kind of quick, we need to get a 6 in. You know what I mean? But like on another
I suppose
field,
he was adding numbers to the squad as well, which was important. And maybe at this stage, if you're looking for a 6 and you already have a Wataro, whether Slot's a big fan of his or not, you have something there to get you to a certain level. So anything that comes in after that needs to be above the level. Otherwise, you're not getting a whole out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Keith saying losing a Mo Salah would in any event is going to be a big blow because there's not a lot of players out there in Mo's position that can do what Salah does, to be honest. But Liverpool need to get moving. They do. But I mean, the thing about it is, these players will eventually come to an end. It doesn't matter if it's this year or next year or the year after.
Yeah.
We all know how good Mo Salah is. We all know how good Mo Salah's consistency is and what he brings to us and what he's brought to us in the past and all this kind of stuff. But as I said already, if that offer is out there and it's that size and that magnitude, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. And it's like the Zubamendi deal. We went in for Zubamendi. We said we'd pay the clause. We said we'd pay extra if they wanted to do a payment structure. We tripled his wages. We threw everything at him. The guy just didn't want to leave. And that's it. And you can't make him leave. And we're going to talk about Raheem Sterling at Chelsea. He doesn't have to leave. He can sit there on that contract for the next 2-3 years if he wants. You know what I mean? If that's the way he feels. So it's tough.
Absolutely. And I think, he earned the right to do that, so to speak. When Chelsea gave him a contract of that length, of that magnitude, somebody somewhere decided. Now, if Chelsea need to start looking in the back garden in relation to Raheem Sterling and saying, oh, well, who gave this deal? Who paid this money? That's up to Chelsea. Those sort of things, I'm sure, have happened quite recently in Old Trafford and at Manchester United as well. When you look at guys getting too long of a deal on too much money and stuff like that, we've had to cut our losses at times with players. If you look at Raphael Varane in the summer, at times for me Varane was probably our best centre back, but we had a massive issue. He was on huge wages, and he wasn't robust enough for the league. And he's obviously moved to Como in Italy and a different pace of life, and he's 10 minutes into his first game and he's out as well. So. To get that 10 million off your wage bill is huge. That's two young, hungry, and growing assets at your club rather than something that's never really going to hold a whole lot of value down the line for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and straight away on that first game for Como, your decision was validated. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
that could have easily
Absolutely.
happened against Fulham last Friday night. So, Jordan,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have it. Jordan, if you want to come on tomorrow night. We're doing a Liverpool show tomorrow night. Myself and Dino going to do a Brentford preview and talk about Liverpool now. So join us tomorrow night if you want, and we'll have a bit of crack. I'll drop you a link later on if you like. Rather than because we just want to shoot through this. Darren's obviously on holidays, so I don't want to be taking him away from the farm or anything like that. Right, let's have a quick run down. Keith, you want to be saving all these for tomorrow night? If we re-sign Trent on a 4 or 5 year deal, re-sign Salah on a 2 year deal, would it be a huge loss in a sentence if we lost Virgil van Dijk on a free next season, considering he's hitting 34 or 35 now? I think if we lose Virgil van Dijk, I think we will feel the effect of it. He's an incredible player, but a lot of these players are getting up there in age now, and we have to be realistic. And where we haven't done well is the fact that it's gotten to this stage. If you remember back a few years ago, we were all talking about how these contract renewals were brilliant and all, but they were all getting done at the same time. So eventually the tide was going to crash against the shore and they'd all have to be done again. But obviously 4 years down the line again. And obviously these guys are heading into their mid-30s and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what way this is all going to pan out. To me, it feels like I still have a feeling I think we'll get one or two bodies through the door. But if we don't, then I get the feeling there's a big project next summer and we're stockpiling cash. That's what I think it is, to be honest.
If that's the case, and that may be the case because to be honest with you, it does sound quite plausible. For them to be selling off a lot of the fringe players, for them to be letting lads go free next summer to free up an awful lot of wage space and salary cap space and stuff like that. Say, and if that's the case, then how do you measure slots for a season, knowing that he's gone into the gig kind of with his hands tied a little bit, because obviously you're a new manager, you want to make a huge impression. Does that put him on the back foot massively if things don't go well very early on and he doesn't have the players there to make the kind of changes that he would want to make?
Well, I think the fan base recognises that if that was the case, you know what I mean. And I think more of it would be parked more at Hughes and at Edwards' store more so than Slot's store. For years, even where Klopp wasn't performing and we weren't doing really well, it wasn't necessarily parked at Klopp's store. He was always the guy that was just fronting for FSG or whoever it
Yeah.
was, or Julian Ward or whatever it was. So we generally didn't really park it at the manager's store. Listen, we'd loads of issues there in terms of in-game management and starting 11s and all this kind of stuff, and things that he used to come out and say where we didn't need sixes, and then all of a sudden we needed them and all different stuff. But a little bit crazy that way. City were absolutely amazing against Chelsea. I wouldn't have gone that far. I think they went out and they did a job. I wouldn't have said it. I didn't see anything in it that was amazing.
I thought they were. I thought they were workmanlike.
Yeah, workmanlike. I would have
Chelsea
said.
showed glimpses of how things could go under Maresca. I thought Chelsea showed glimpses. I do, but I think again, the issue with Chelsea is we're not really gonna know what Chelsea are dealing with until the 31st of August and that window shuts.
Yeah, and
the likelihood is there's 4 or 5, maybe 8 lads going to leave that squad, and there's possibly 1 or 2 more going to come in the door, and then you'll see what kind of squad he has to work with, because we know some of them are heading out, the Chalobahs, the Lukaku's and stuff like that, and there is lads going to leave, and then there's also lads going to come in, I would imagine. I think they're going to get the Osimhen deal done. I really do. I think that'll be huge for them because that's something that they have lacked for a couple of seasons now, is that out and out number 9, that goal scorer, that 20 to 25 goals a season guy. And if you look at somebody like a Victor Osimhen and you've got guys around him like, Pedro Neto, like Christopher Nkunku, like Cole Palmer, who can supply a guy like that with service, he could easily score 20 to 25 goals a season and stick Chelsea right back
Felix
up where they want to be.
Felix.
João Felix is in there as well. You've got Mudryk and Madueke slightly further down the line, but again, that can add stuff, So there's I think we won't know the full extent of where Chelsea are until the window closes, until we can see that squad on paper.
And we did say it would take maybe 4 to 8 weeks for Maraska to figure it out before we'd really see what's happening there. Now, the argument is if it goes kind of skew ways, you're out of the ballpark straight away after 6 or 8 weeks if you don't fix up. But I think
Hopefully,
it's
hopefully
different.
that's not the case because I
Yeah.
thought watching it, I thought there's signs of life here. I see
Mm,
they look like they're starting to do things slightly differently.
mm,
And it's a funny one. Obviously Conor Gallagher leaving the building. It's a funny one because I kind of feel like he was one of those big personalities who possibly could have stifled the manager in his pursuit of what he's trying to do. Because obviously he's a homegrown lad, he had the armband on and stuff like that, and it's tough for him for Maresca to take it off. And you take the armband off a homegrown kid like Conor Gallagher, you're going to get an awful lot of heat off it straight away, right? So in order
mm.
for you to get that armband onto somebody else, on an Enzo Fernandez, on a Moise Caicedo, somebody like that, you got to get Gallagher out the door. You've got to get something in creative as well. Obviously, in Joe Felix, and I think the deal worked well for everyone involved. To be honest with you, it
Yeah, I
remains to
don't.
be seen whether Felix is up to the league. It's the only thing I
Mm,
will say. He's a fabulous footballer. He's an absolutely fabulous footballer. I'm not going to put any question mark over his ability. What I am going to put a question mark over is whether he will be able to do it week to week in the toughest league in the world, and that's what it
yeah.
is.
And we know first time around he struggled, but we know there was plenty of issues, not just what he was dealing with and stuff
Absolutely, and
like
he
that at
and
the
he
time.
did show moments
Mm,
and glimpses of what can be done. And at times you kind of went, wow, this could go really well. And it didn't, but again, extenuating circumstances and what went on in the background and stuff made it very difficult for him.
yeah. Yeah, I also sometimes say as well that at the moment, one of the most exciting things at the weekend is tuning in to see the Chelsea starting 11 because God knows what they're going to pick and all. So very, very interesting. Ace has gone Villa and Arsenal a draw, but we'll go down through yours anyway. So start Brighton, Manchester United. What you thinking on it?
And Brighton obviously the good win last weekend. Um, as much as Brighton were good, I thought Everton were really poor. I thought they were really, really poor. And I actually fancy us this weekend against Brighton. I think last weekend would have been a big nerve settler. I do think we'll see a couple of changes. Um, I personally think, and it will be tough to see it because I thought Harry Maguire was very, very good last weekend, last Friday night for us. But I think he's going to start with the Lictor Martinez, and he'll obviously go in with Mazraoui and Dalot, and then you'll have Casemiro, who kind of looked very rejuvenated in that midfield next to Mainu. Obviously lost a little bit of weight and come back very, very hungry looking. Casemiro with a point to prove. And then I think we'll start with a striker. We'll start with Xerxes out and out. And obviously Fernandez playing off Xerxes, and then the boys out wide between them. You're going to have the likes of Anthony and Rashford and Garnacho and Ahmad and stuff like that. So I'd be confident going into the game on Saturday. I think if we can get another 3 points, keep the best foot forward. We've got Liverpool the next game, so at least if you got 6 points on the board, if you dropped something in your tour game, it wouldn't be a big issue because you've already got 2 wins in the bounce. If you took a draw from the Liverpool game and then went again, you've got 9 from 10, or you've possibly got 10 from 12, and the garden looks rosier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're heading into the international break there as well, then, aren't you? So you want to go in
Yeah.
kind of
So you're
like
getting,
you want to be in
and
and
you're
around it.
probably getting players back from injury as well after that. Luke Shaw's been talked about, so
Yeah.
that brings that bit of balance on the left hand side. I think
Mm,
obviously Euro won't be ready at that stage, but he'll certainly be further down the line than he was, and a
mm.
couple of other lads as well. Rasmus Højlund will be pretty close to being ready then as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going for a tight United win.
I'm gonna go United. I'm gonna go United 2-1.
Yeah. Palace versus West Ham.
Palace versus West Ham. I thought Lopetegui got a lot wrong last weekend. I got to be honest with you. We talk about him. We know he's a really good coach. I would have liked to see a lot more of the newer, fresher faces at Palace last weekend. And I think they gave himself a very difficult hill to climb, going to go down and stuff like that against Villa. I thought Onana was superb for Villa all game, especially the goal. But the way he controlled that midfield. We did talk about Villa losing, the likes of Douglas Luiz and how would they cope it out with so far so good. It looked pretty good last week with Amadou, not Andre Onana in the midfield. I expect to see West Ham make quite a few changes this week. And I think that'll just give West Ham the upper hand here. I thought Palace are still again. Palace are a team looking at the end of this window and just trying to find out who's in and who's out. I mean, if I'm Crystal Palace at the minute and I look at Joachim Anderson, who is all but on the way to Fulham, and then possibly Mark Gahey on the way to Newcastle. They are two first choice centre backs from last season. Now, absolutely, you're getting 100 million in to balance the books against the two centre backs. It's phenomenal business for Palace, but you've got to get guys in who can play in those positions. Now, I know the lad Chris Richards is a decent footballer, and they've got the boy Chaddy, who they brought in from Betis, who's from La Masia at Barcelona, and then it looks like possibly Trevor Chalobah. So they're doing okay, but I think there's going to be quite a bit of investment still in that Palace squad before the end of the window for me. I'm going to go West Ham here. I think West Ham will sneak this 2-1.
Yeah, just to update you on the Irish matches tonight in Europe. Shamrock Rovers have gone down 4-0 to PAC FC in Greece. That's basically done and dusted for them, I think, in Europe again. Had a player sent off early on as well and dropped an OG early on in the game. Or, sorry, just at the tail end of the first half. Pat's at the moment, it's half time, so St. Pat's 0, Istanbul Besikshir 0 as well. So, but
it's a good half-time score. Don't forget, Besikshir were in United's group in the Champions League about 4 or 5 years ago. So, decent team.
Yeah, absolutely. He also has, I think, Collision Acers as well, isn't it? Collision is in Wales this week as well, isn't it? After Dynamite was on there as well.
Chelsea have just gone into halftime 0-0 with Servette at the Bridge.
Yeah. Fulham versus Leicester.
Thought Leicester were really, really plucky last week against Spurs, although I do think Spurs created enough chances to win the game.
Yeah, second half, yeah.
Yeah. But I thought Leicester were gutsy and stuck it out well, But I think Fulham have a little more quality. I think, and we mentioned it yesterday off in the group, I think if you look at what they brought in, the Smith Rowe, he didn't play well last week at Old Trafford, but I do expect him to have a huge season at Fulham. I thought the signing of Sander Berg coming in is a great signing for them. It blocks up that hole that Pellegrini has left in the midfield. And then obviously with Tim Ream and stuff like that, you look at Anderson coming in to replace him, like right down the spine of the squad there. Smith Rowe, Berg and Anderson. I think they're going to be huge signings for Fulham, and I think Fulham will just get over the line this weekend. I'm going to go Fulham 2-0.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier before you came on, it's going to be interesting to see how Leicester behave on their travels under Steve Cooper, because we know on their travels at times, sometimes tactically he can get it wrong. So we'll see.
We saw it was a huge issue for Forest, wasn't it? Their home form was quite good, and away from home they really, really struggled.
Yeah. City versus Ipswich. I don't think we have to dwell on it too long.
No, I think the City versus Ipswich game, the only thing I'm really concerned about is how do I get Haaland into my fantasy football team at 15 million? He's the most expensive player ever in the game, but I think when you look at City's next 3 games, he's a guy you want to get on your team and get involved and stuff like that. So changes to make in the fantasy, and I'd say City this weekend will put 3 or 4 past Ipswich quite easily, I imagine.
Easy. Tough start for Ipswich in the Premier League as well.
Very, very tough. Liverpool and City.
Really
you're not going to find out about Ipswich until they start playing those teams, where we expect them to be at the bottom of the league with the Southamptons and the Leicesters and the Brentfords and teams like that. I think we'll and the Forests, we'll judge them against teams like that.
Southampton have lodged a loan deal for Ramsdale. Interesting. And Aces is going for City and over 3.5 goals. Yeah, not a bad show. I think it could be even more. I think we'll say. I think Ipswich. I think they'll be resolute for a while, but I think like what we seen last week, they'll just come up against it and they'll just wilt like they did last week. Southampton versus Forest.
Strangely enough, I expect Southampton to do this. I thought Forest were okay last weekend, did all right, but I think at home Southampton will bring lots of energy, and they've had quite an influx of players leaving and players coming in. So again, he's another guy, Russell Martin. He's probably looking at the window, going, "When is this going to close, so we can know what I'm dealing with, and we can
Yeah,
go from there." But I expect them at home to be good. They'll be ferocious. They'll be at it from the word go, and I think they'll get over the line here and go Southampton 2-1.
yeah. I mean, we viewed reservations over the Forest Nuno combination, don't we? Really. Next
Absolutely.
up, Tottenham versus Everton.
Tottenham versus Everton. Yeah, I think we'll see a better Spurs performance this weekend. I think they were a little bit lackluster last weekend. Everything didn't kind of click the way we would have liked to see it click. But I think we will see a much better version of them come this week. And with that in mind, I'm going to go Spurs here.
Yeah, absolutely. Everton are going to be in big trouble this season, aren't they?
100%.
Yeah. Aston Villa versus Arsenal.
Charger.
Yeah, no. Aston Villa versus
versus Arsenal.
Arsenal. Probably one of the games of the weekend.
Yeah, probably one of the games of the weekend. But Arsenal obviously coming in off the news of Mikel Moreno entering the building. 32 plus 5, I believe. It'd be a good sign, and he's a good footballer. He'll add more goals in that midfield area and stuff like that. And he'll probably it'll probably be the end of Thomas Partey, if I'm honest with it. You're probably going to see Rice go in as the 6 and Odegaard and Moreno kind of keep the ball a little bit better in there. The one thing I have to say about Arsenal is I'm still so shocked with the fact that we haven't seen them sign a striker yet. Like, Arsenal, for me, were probably the favourites to lift the league title this season. But if they don't bring in a striker, I think that's getting further and further away. Now, I know Eddie Nketiah is looking like he's probably heading towards the exit door pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they've got to use that money and they've got to get someone in really fast. I can't believe they haven't just looked down the road at Brentford and said, Ivan Toney will do the job for us.
Back in training this week with the squad. Will probably feature on Sunday against us.
You're getting him out the door for 45 to 50 million and you're getting 13 for Nketiah. This is not a difficult decision to make, lads. It really isn't. Get one out, get one in, and put yourself in a position to go and challenge for that league title.
They could still go for Yerkes, couldn't they?
For who?
Yerkes, is it? The Yerkes, the boy off Sporting, is it?
Victor Gyorkas.
Gyorkas, yeah.
They could, but again, that's going to cost you big bucks. That's going to cost you more than Ivan Toney. Because, he's obviously signed on at Sporting for about 30 million. So they'll want double that, if not more. I think his buyout clause about 75 to 80 million. I don't imagine they're going to drop that kind of wedge on a guy in the last week of the window. I don't imagine it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. What are you thinking here? I said a score draw.
I don't think that's going to be too far away from it. I think 1-1, 2-2 is pretty close to it.
Very good. Bournemouth versus Newcastle.
Newcastle did well to get over the line last weekend, especially with the red card and stuff like that, which I personally didn't think was a red card, but there you go. I think when Roy Keane mentioned before, when you give the referee a decision to make, the likelihood is he can get it wrong. And I don't think it was a red card, but obviously they were able to stick it out and stuff like that. Got the goal and just were resolute. Thought the biggest news for me out of Newcastle this week was obviously the boy Kieran Tierney being shown the door, so to speak. Kieran Trippier. Looks like he's possibly on the way to Everton. And that'll solidify the boy Tino Livramento in that right back position. He's been very, very good for them since he came in. I think you're gonna look at this Newcastle back four quite soon. And you're gonna read, Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall on either side, the two lads that they took in maybe from Chelsea and Southampton. You're going to see Mark Gahey in there alongside a rejuvenated Sven Botman when he comes back from injury. That's an absolutely top line back four. It is top drawer, really is. And I think Eddie Howe's going to try and build off the back of that. He's going to try. He's obviously got Nick Pope there. He's got, looks like they're keeping Bruno Guimaraes, and he's got Isaac and Gordon up front. I think Newcastle could have another decent season without European football for me.
Yeah, I think it's refreshing to see the way clubs are acting somewhat in terms of they're just being straight up with players, aren't they? They're not letting it get toxic and stuff like that. They're just saying, look, you're
No,
not on our plans anymore. Go find a new home. We don't want you hanging around here. Do your thing. Go, play your ball elsewhere, kind of thing. I know with the Chelsea one, it's kind of there's a bit of bad taste around it in the way they're doing it. Like Sterling losing his jersey and he hasn't even left and all. I think there's a
yeah,
way of doing things. But I think in general, I think if I'm a professional footballer, I'd prefer the club to be more upfront with me than to turn around and go, no, we think you're part of the plans, and then you're binned off them for the season.
I think most players would be delighted with somebody coming in and having a conversation with them and just saying, listen, we're going a
Yeah.
different direction, and that's fine. But I think when you get to the kind of stage where Chelsea are, and stripping guys of numbers and sending them to train, it's disrespectful. That guy is still an employee of Chelsea Football Club, and just because somebody pays your wages, it doesn't mean they have a right to treat you like shit. And that for me is what's going on at Chelsea at the minute, and it's not right. I don't think it'll be long before we see the PFA get involved, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think, but and the way clubs are moving at the moment, like you can see with our own club, Liverpool. You've mentioned it there with Newcastle. You see what Chelsea's doing. You've seen the stuff at Arsenal as well and stuff. So I think clubs are getting very much more conscious in terms of the financials and how things pan out and stuff as well, because they know the threat there of being sanctioned and all. You can be having a great season, and suddenly you're hit with a 6 or a 10 point deduction, and boom, your season's in tatters.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for
What did you pick, Bournemouth, Newcastle?
I'll go Newcastle 2-1. I'll go Newcastle 2-1, just get over the line.
Yep.
If you look at
Fire
a lot
away
of the
there.
squads that you've mentioned, the Liverpool, the Arsenal, the United and stuff like that, look at how many more fringe players they've decided that they had to get rid of. Obviously, to boost the bank balance, to get the wages off the books, keep the squad a bit tighter, and just stay that little bit inside the guidelines, so you don't get too close to the edge, and then you have room to breathe come January and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Wolves versus Chelsea.
Wolves versus Chelsea. To be honest with you, I think a lot will depend on how Chelsea do tonight. I know they've gone in 0-0. He's made a lot of changes tonight. It's certainly not what you would call his first choice 11, but they've more than enough on the pitch to beat the likes of Servette. I think Chelsea at the minute will be looking for confidence builders. They'll be looking for wins, pick up a win here, pick up a win there, build a bit of confidence and going into games. I think if they get something from tonight and they get a win, maybe 2-0, something like that in the second half and get over the line, I think that'll help them going into Sunday. But I think if they don't, they're going to come up against a very resolute Wolves, and a Wolves that will make life very, very difficult for them, which we saw last weekend,
Yeah, absolutely. And then we rounded out the Super Sunday, Liverpool versus Brentford.
Yeah, I know it's not somewhere you love going, because I've obviously had a couple of sticky days out there, but if I look at it, I can't really see past Liverpool. As I said, Tony in or out would make a difference, but I don't think it's going to make enough to not get you guys over the line. So I'm going to go Liverpool here, and I'm going to go 3-1.
Yeah, same. I think it was same for last year as well, actually. I suppose the key thing is whether Tony plays or not. He's back in the squad and he's training. So maybe Brentford are either playing silly buggers, sending a subliminal message, or else they've truly resorted to the fact that Tony's going to be there next season.
Could be either or, really.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just having a look at the team there, the Chelsea team. Jorgensen in goal, Viega at the back with Badashile, Tosin, and Disasi. That's an interesting back four. Right. Dewsbury Hall's in there, Casado and Neto, and then you've Nkunku, Mark Gui, is it?
Yeah,
and
the lad from Barcelona. That's right. Yeah, so it's not full strength, but there's enough there to beat Servette. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's plenty in there, actually. Plenty
Yeah,
in there,
there
so
is.
we shall see.
Um,
Yeah, just quickly then, get your thoughts. Quickly get your thoughts on this. The PFA team of the year. Call it out if you want. Ray and goals, Saliba, Van
yeah, no,
Dijk,
no,
Gabriel
I can see it
Magalhaes,
there.
Walker.
There was a
You can see it
there was
there,
a
you see.
couple of them I was a little bit surprised with. I first of all don't know how Cole Palmer's not in it. Like that's just for me, it's glaring. Especially when he wins the young player of the year. You know, um, did he have a better season than Martin Odegaard?
If
I
if
think
you're
he
if you're if
probably
you're if
did.
you're putting Cole, yeah,
Me
mm,
personally, like I like to pick a team. I don't think that's a team. I think that's 11 players. Like if you look at the back, you've got three centre backs and a right back, so there is no left back even in it
yeah,
because you've got Gabriel, Van Dijk, and Saliba, and you've got Walker, and then you've got Rice and Rodri and Odegaard. Probably wouldn't create a midfield with those three players, and Rodri's going to be in all day long. I thought Rice did okay, but if I wanted, I'd probably go Rodri and maybe Odegaard and Parma ahead of him. A 6 and 8 and a 10, something like that. I think if you put Haaland in after last season, I think you're kind of just putting him in as a box ticking exercise. I don't think he was great. I think he had a really poor season by
mm.
his standards. I thought Foden and Watkins were full value, but I think there was a couple there for me. Maybe Rice, Haaland, Odegaard. There was a couple of lads that I would have looked different directions at. You know.
If you were taken out, I presume, like we know that probably the best centre pairing combination at the back was probably Saliba and Gabriel last season. So if you're
Mhm.
assuming that Van Dijk is the anomaly in there, put in there, kind of as box ticking. I mean, I think he had a good season and stuff like that and all. But
I
if you're
don't think
taking
he
him
was
out,
bad, but I don't think it was the type of season that
yeah,
you say he'll be remembered for.
yeah, is it a case? Is there a left back in there that you put in there to balance it out better? I mean, are you looking at a Robinson off Fulham? Are you looking at a Josko Vardiol? Are you?
I'd probably looking at Jasko Vardiol, to be honest with you. That's where I would look. I thought he
Mm,
was very good for his first season in the league, and got better and better as the league went on. He was so solid defensively and was able to start creating and scoring goals toward the end of the season. So I'd go Vardiol instead of Van Dijk just to make it a right back and a left back situation.
are you
Um,
taking Ben White over Walker?
I would also take Ben White over Walker. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
mm,
Absolutely.
I was thinking that.
And then again, I'd want Palmer in the middle, and I'd probably want somebody else instead of Haaland. I think I'd probably take Haaland out and put Anthony Gordon in
Take Haaland out and put Anthony Gordon in.
to have
Interesting.
Foden and Gordon out wide of a Watkins. You know,
Mm,
again, it's me. I
interesting.
like balance. I don't know what I'm going to do with two strikers and a 10, and then
Yeah.
two. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, if you're picking
it,
it
it's
as a
going to be
list of names, or are you picking it as an
yeah.
actual team? Yeah,
So
no, I get you.
that's
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, interesting. It always generates conversation, but it's always good to talk about it and stuff like that. For me,
sure does.
definitely Ben White over Walker. I think there's definitely a shout there for Palmer to go in there as well. I think
Yeah,
Salah probably would have been in there, but the drop off in the second half of the season was probably a bit too much.
yeah.
We know what he brings and stuff like that, and all so difficult and unusual to see him out of it as well. But yeah, no, just wanted to get your thoughts on that as well. And we've had your thoughts on Chelsea and stuff like that. So listen, appreciate you jumping on. We didn't do any bets. Do you want to hear my three bets?
Go for it, one.
I'll give you my three bets. I'll pull them up here. See what your thoughts are on them. Do.
I can do a bet really quickly if you can just hear me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you work away there, and I'll call out mine while you're working on it if you want.
Okay, hang on.
Um,
Can you still hear me?
yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so I can go into me betting app while I'm talking to you. Hold on.
Just want to pull my ones up actually. I can barely see them on the phone. Dun, 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 dun.
I did get a winner last weekend, as you saw. It was great to get off to a good start like that. And obviously, the better part of it was a free bet that Paddy Power had given me. Now, when you can turn a €10 free bet into £100, it's a good day at the office.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, so I started off with, I can barely see it here now, I don't know what happened to the screen. I started off with 3 draws.
I can pick one of your draws. You
Yeah,
definitely
go
went
ahead.
with us as a draw.
Yeah, United and Brighton, definitely a draw. Who else did I go with? Crystal Palace and West Ham. I went with a draw. And Aston Villa and Arsenal, a draw. And that's 42-1.
Bit of value there.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Oh,
And then what did I go with here? Barely see. I went with over 2.5 goals and over 3.5 in the City Ipswich one. And then I went over 2.5 goals Arsenal and Aston Villa, and over 2.5 goals Man United and Brighton. So, and that pays out 36-1.
Wow.
For those 4. And then my final one, which is a goal scorer bet, working out at 47-1. I went with Nicholas Fulkrug for West Ham. I went with Erling Haaland for Man City. I went with Dominic Solanke for Spurs. And I rounded it out with Ollie Watkins for Aston Villa. And that pays 47 or 48-1, I think. They're the 3 bets.
Well, if you hang with me, I've got one done and I'm just part way through the second one, yeah?
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. No rush.
Chelsea have just got a goal up. Nicholas Kunku on the 50th minute.
There we go.
That's what you bought. Or sorry, not Nicholas and Kunku, Christopher.
Christopher and Kunku.
That's what you bought him for, right? That's what they bought him for.
Absolutely.
No. Let's see here.
Oh, I wonder. It'd be interesting to see are they playing him out as wide, or is he tucked in a bit more? He was very wide the other day, wasn't he? And he couldn't really get into the game.
I think that's something that he's gonna have to find is a little bit of balance. Now, for me, in my head, the situation's very easily fixed. You know, you play Cole Palmer wide right, you play Pedro Neto wide left. The 2 boys can interchange from side to side whenever they need to. You get your number 9 if it's a Victor Osimhen or a Nicholas Jackson, and you park Christopher Nkunku behind them as a 10. And then you've got Enzo and Caicedo in the middle there. That for me, again, I look for balance. There's not a lot I don't have there as a defensive midfielder. In Caicedo, I've got my 8 in Fernandez who can go box to box. I've got Nkunku who can score and create. I've got a scorer up top, an Osimhen or a Jackson, and then I've got creativity and width out wide in your Neto and your Palmer, who again will create and assist and stuff like that. So, like for me, that's a phenomenal front 6. Like that's a really good front 6.
Well, we said it. Remember, even last Sunday, we said it when they released the teams last Sunday for the game against City. That was a real good 11 on paper.
Absolutely.
Real good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is going a little bit better than it was. So we are almost there. The app seems to be quite slow because I'm on the StreamYard.
Yeah.
So, but we are getting there. Just hang with me now. Yes. 2 more and I am done. Next one, load. There we go. Did you see United made another signing today?
I didn't know.
There's a boy called Sekou Kone. He's an 18-year-old Malian international. He's a defensive midfielder. He is highly talked about across Europe and was on the radar of a number of top clubs. And it looks like United have done the deal. So this is a kid who's going to come into that defensive midfield position over the next couple of years in a similar way to the boy Obi Martin is going to come into the striking. So this is now us starting to lay paving stones in place for 2 to 3 years' time when these kids could be some of the absolute, best in the market.
Yeah. Future proofing.
Great to see. Yeah, great to see. Something we missed out on for quite a while.
That's why I was excited about the deal we were doing on the keeper when everyone was going mad because he's not a 6. And I said we complain about we don't do enough future proofing, and then when we do it, you're moaning because we're not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I get that part. I think 2 years down the line, a goalkeeper like you're not necessarily going in and getting a kid for 3 or 4 million. You're spending 30 to 35 million on a lad who is playing at the minute in the Premier League and would primarily expect to play anywhere else he goes. It's not the same, but I do understand what you're doing. Like if this is the guy who you think is gonna be the heir to the throne of Alisson, then getting the job done now and loaning them out for a year and bring them back to be Alisson's number 2 for a season makes perfect sense. Because don't forget, if he comes back and gets he plays as Alisson's number 2, he maybe plays the Carabao Cup and any kind of football you might have going on European style. If he plays those sort of games, FA Cup, he's building himself up so that when Alisson does step out of the building, and at that stage, by next summer, you might be ready to cash in on Queven Keller as well. So, there could be, it's the right idea. I just don't know, if, I suppose the 6 is here and now, isn't it? And that's why people are like, we need this done today.
Absolutely.
Right, I got 2 for you. Yeah?
Yep, fire away.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I've got 2 done for you, yeah?
Yeah.
So, option number 1, I've just gone with a straight accumulator.
Okay.
So, I've got Man United away at Brighton. I got Fulham at home at Leicester. I got Southampton at home against Forest. And I got Tottenham at home at Everton.
Yeah.
That pays 16 to 1 as a 14 accumulator. It's not resulting bonus score. It's nothing that. It's just a straight up accumulator. And I think it's at 16 to 1. I don't think there's loads there that we wouldn't be expecting yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
My second one is a much bigger bet. But again, I don't think any of these would surprise us. This is a goal scorer bet. Anytime goal scorer. So we got Bruno Fernandes away at Brighton.
Yeah.
We've got Phil Foden at home against Ipswich.
Yeah.
We've got Dominic Solanke at home against Everton.
Yeah.
And we've got Ollie Watkins at home against Arsenal. Now, Fernandes, Foden, Solanke and Watkins, 56 to 1 anytime.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
That's all I got for you, my man.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Good odds as well. You throw a tenner on that first one, you're heading into 170 into your weekend. Not too bad at all. So not too bad at all for a little speculation. Good.
You throw a tenner on the second, you're going to Spain.
There you go. Again. There you go. Did you enjoy my blast from the past this morning with these golf clubs? I'm sure they jogged some memories, did they?
Well, they did. You know what? It was even. I was looking out the window and I can see the golf course from my balcony. So I was like, "Oh, will I? Won't I?" Clubs aren't here. We'll look at bringing them next time. I think the second time we've been to Villamore, I didn't bring clubs either time. But there's a lot of good golf courses around here, so I think maybe the next time we arrive, I might have just brought the clubs with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was shocking on the driving range today, and of course, I was talking about a game and I was delivering, trying to give Dylan a few tips. He wants to get into golf now, which I'm absolutely delighted about. So
absolutely,
and actually, we're clearing out
golf career through.
Yeah,
I'm living my golf career through Andrew at the minute, you know. So that's it. That's how I get my hits.
Yeah, I'm clearing out the attic at the moment because we're getting it insulated while we're away. And I came across loads of the kids' old sets in the bags, the small clubs.
Ah, very good.
Classic, yeah. So I jogged a few good memories today. And I found a bunch of Oakley and Nike golf shoes as well that I must have only worn maybe twice each pair as well. So he has the best of golf gear as well now, shoes and everything and all now.
All the gear as well.
There you go.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right, brother.
Yes, there you go.
I'm going to say peace out from here.
Good rest of the holiday. Tell everyone I said hello, yeah? Absolutely. And thanks for jumping on.
Will do, pal. All right. No problem.
Cheers, bro. Thanks. Bye-bye.
No problem, pal. Talk to you, buddy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers. So there you go, folks. That's it. That is the show. Beat the bookie and everything else. We will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Brentford versus Liverpool preview. Dino will be joining me for that. We're going to be talking all about Brentford, all about Liverpool, but we're also going to be talking about what's going on at Liverpool at the moment as well and getting Dino's view on that as well, which is sure to be interesting. He has some strong views on Arne Slot. He has some strong views on Hughes and Edwards, and especially strong views on FSG as well. I think the following week, it won't be the following week, it'll be week after because next week I'm on holidays. The following week, I think we're going to get Mark on from Liverpool as well, one of Dino's mates as well. So we'll get some local flavour, and at that stage, the window will be closed. So it will either be tidal wave FSG out, uproar, or Edwards and Hughes might create some magic. Let's see what happens. So until next time, folks, if you could like the video, really, really important. Drop a like on the way out, or if you're watching on the replay, hit that bell notification button as well. Really, really, really important. Joanne, absolutely send on your predictions later, will you? Send them on to me as well, and I'll drop them into the comments or into the description. And if you're doing any bets, Joanne, as well, send them on as well. I'd like to see them as well, if you can. So as always, folks, subscribe to the channel as well. Have a safe evening. We will be back in the screens tomorrow at 8 as we pump forward and go into this weekend's Premier League action. Talk to you again real soon. Cheers.